Please be seated. Welcome to this grand occasion celebrating Montgomery Bell Academy's 153rd commencement. Good evening to our families, students, board members, and faculty and staff, and most important, tonight, the MBA class of 2020. Grayson Hill Senior Class President will deliver this evening's invocation.
Let us pray. Thank you for this beautiful day, for the rain and thunderstorms, and for saving them for a later date. We are grateful for the opportunity to attend Montgomery Bell Academy. Thank you for our friendships, the challenges, and our accomplishments. Thank you for our parents who have supported us in all of our endeavors. Not only for our parents, but thanks for our teachers, our coaches, our administrators, and our staff who have given of themselves so that we could become MBA graduates. Give us guidance and love as we embark upon new challenges in our lives, but let us never forget the foundation which has been laid on the hill. Amen.
Thank you for wearing masks, practicing physical distance, remembering not to gather very long afterwards. We're under strict guidelines, appropriately so, for the health of all of us. And I am thankful to the Health Department for blessing this ceremony tonight and allowing us to be together. It's been a long time for these seniors to be together with their faculty and back on this campus, so tonight should be a wonderful celebration for all of us. Tonight's commencement will be the most memorable in my 26 years and one of the most distinctive in our school's history. A month delayed because of the pandemic, situated on top of the parking garage at physical distance from the center of campus and one another. Masks on our faces, and the first time together with students and faculty since mid-March. Additionally, you have seen in these past 3 months a world around us spin out of control by racial issues and protest about justice and history. The world needs your voice and hands to heal these problems for all races, cultures, and individuals. Perhaps tonight, this ceremony will launch a large number of you to build better communities that embrace all individuals and people who see not color or differences, but instead hope and potential and respect for all. The commencement ceremony traces its origin to the pattern of degree granting developed at the University of Paris around 1100. In the early days of the University of Paris, the discipline of the students, and indeed their entire education, fell under the jurisdiction of the Bishop of Paris, who was responsible for local educational matters. In an attempt to perform his office, the bishop claimed supervision of curriculum and degree granting. Here he ran into trouble from the teachers, who felt they were the proper judges of the qualifications of their students. They demanded the right to grant the degrees. The modern commencement ceremony represents a compromise between the bishop and the teaching masters. By 1200, the masters were judging the merits of the students and then recommending them to the bishop who conferred the degree. The ceremony you are witnessing this evening is the successor to the medieval compromise. The faculty sit in a reserved space in its role as teacher and examiner. The headmaster, representing the intentions of the faculty, presents the candidates for the diploma. Acting upon the recommendation of the faculty, the chairman of the Board of Trustees formally confers the diploma. The academic dress worn by the faculty has its origins in the clerical robes worn by the students and teachers at the earliest medieval universities. Both the caps and the sleeves signify the types of degree earned by the individual, and the colors symbolize the college or university from which the individual received his or her degree. The commencement ceremony, rooted in clerical procedure dating back almost 1,000 years, is a rich and colorful and stately ritual. This evening you will have seen the diploma candidates form a line of honor for the faculty and the trustees as they process in. At the conclusion of the ceremony, you will see the faculty and trustees reverse this procedure as they form a line of honor through which the graduates will recess, and by means of which the graduates are honored as joining the ranks of all those who have preceded them in earning all the rights and the distinctions which this institution has to offer. Would our salutatorian please come forward?
Good evening, Mr. Joya, board members, teachers and faculty, family and friends, and my fellow members of the class of 2020. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I'm ecstatic that we are able to come together for this commencement ceremony. When I first learned that I was salutatorian, I was thrilled. After all, it is a great accomplishment, one that recognizes achievement while not labeling me as the grade's biggest tryhard, a title now officially carried by Zach Brown. And for that, Zach, I thank you. Along with that initial excitement, however, came another, less exciting realization. MBA had found a way to give me one final assignment: writing and delivering this speech. In order to commemorate accurately the late nights and long grinds of my MBA career, I resolved to spend the night before graduation staying up late to write the speech. Unfortunately, Mr. Joya, likely anticipating such procrastination, informed me that he needed a copy of the speech a week before graduation, on June 18th. So, on June 17th at 10 p.m., I began writing. Over the past several months, I have had family, friends, and just about anyone I meet offer their condolences that I, along with the class of 2020, have missed a significant chapter of my senior year. While it's true that we have missed many important events and experiences, we as a class have been given a unique chance to reflect on our time at MBA before it formally comes to a close. With our last time on campus occurring in March, I've been able to spend the last few months appreciating the value of my time at MBA, and more significantly, appreciating the value of spending time with my classmates on the Hill. Essentially, the forced separation allowed me to realize what I truly loved about MBA. Whether in messing around during study halls, joking with your neighbor in class, or simply talking with a group through the lunch period, MBA offered the perfect environment not only to excel and challenge oneself academically, but also to grow close as friends. Though it came far too early, my final day on campus became the ideal, ironically fitting conclusion to my time at MBA. I spent my final hours in the senior lounge, playing computer games amidst roaring laughter with several friends. For me, the beauty of MBA came not in the excellent academics or the amazing dining hall or informal ceremonies like this one, but rather in these little enjoyable moments among good company. In these times, our next test or homework assignment or essay were insignificant. Instead, all that mattered was enjoying the ride through MBA. And it has been a long and bumpy ride. Perhaps it has been so bumpy because we've been riding over rocks like quartz, feldspar, obsidian, Yes, I am talking about the Spiegel Rock and Mineral Test. In fact, there have been many tests of our faith, spirit, and apparently our learning over the years. A few come to mind quite easily. In 7th grade, memorizing the seemingly insurmountable list of 100 prepositions for some unknown, yet clearly necessary purpose. In sophomore year, the research paper, an assignment that truly never seemed to end. Or even reciting from Canterbury Tales, a random collection of garbled syllables in Mr. Kelly's native tongue, Middle English. And though these assignments were a pain, and I still can't tell you what feldspar actually is, they did teach us a valuable lesson: failure. We learned that we were incredibly fallible, humbling ourselves and preparing us to work through adversity. But more importantly, we weathered these bumps together, growing closer through the hard grinds of MBA life. In looking back on my early days as an MBA student in the junior school, I find that my current values and beliefs are almost entirely unrecognizable from those of that naive 7th grader. For that change, I credit my teachers and my classmates. For me personally, as I hope it did for the rest of my class, MBA fostered an environment of discussion and intellectual challenges. Through this environment, I developed not only awareness of alternative viewpoints, but also self-awareness of my mistakes. As we journey into the next phase of our lives, we must strive to remember the mistakes of our past. In doing so, we are better able to root out our own falsehoods in the present. As Nassim Taleb puts it in his book, The Black Swan, formulate a conjecture and start looking for the observation that would prove you wrong. In other words, instead of seeking out information to confirm your beliefs, seek out information to contradict. Because the only way to improve yourself is to disprove yourself. The recent pandemics of virus and racial division have presented us with great challenges: to care and to safeguard for one another, to respect others, and to build the kind of cohesive community we have enjoyed at MBA in our broader society. To do so, we must create an environment not without disagreement, but without hate. For our differences make us stronger, yet our divisions make us weaker. In times like these, I find it necessary that we remember the story of Daryl Davis, a black musician who has spent much of his free time interacting with and talking with members of the KKK, many of whom would go on to leave and renounce the organization. Mr. Davis reminds us to talk with those with whom we disagree, because shielding oneself from disagreement only leads to further polarization and hatred. That's not the way forward for us as a country, and it's certainly not the way forward for us as individuals. We need hope and optimism for the future on this evening and in going forward. To the class of 2020, we finally made it. Over the next couple months, we will spread ourselves far and wide as we make our way, hopefully, onto college campuses, leaving our MBA community behind. Though we will be unable to take the community with us, I hope that we can each share some of its values. I hope that we will keep with us the spirit of lively conversation and debate, seeking out healthy disagreement. I hope that we will continue to advance our intellectual and social boundaries, joining new clubs or organizations, both to learn and to meet new people. And above all else, I hope that we will remember to fill our days with laughter and good times and care for one another. Because frankly, that's the stuff that matters. So congratulations and good luck. Thank you.
We congratulate you, Matthew, on earning the distinction of Salutatorian for the class of 2020. Matthew Hawkins epitomizes the kind of kindness and humility that I've seen in the best of our students. He has worked very hard to earn this honor, but he has also added significantly to the MBA community by serving as an integral part of the mock trial and golf teams, as well as the Ultimate Frisbee team. He also ably served our newspaper, The Bell Ringer, and represented MBA as an exchange student at Michael House in South Africa. Matthew has a lovely disposition and deals with others with kindness and generosity. When I asked him if he prefers to be called Matt or Matthew, and what did his friends call him, he responded, Hawkins. He asked me to call him Matthew tonight. Matthew will be attending Duke University next year and aspires to be one of the Cameron Crazies. Congratulations, Matthew.
Go Duke.
Would our valedictorian please come forward?
Good evening, families, Mr. Joya, faculty, and the graduating class. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight, and I'm grateful that we are able to enjoy this event in person. Reflecting on our ending to MBA, I've thought frequently about our final day on campus. As I was walking out to the parking lot, excited to begin spring break, I remember thinking how nice it was that break would be extended, that it'd be refreshing to have a little more time away from MBA. Of course, I consider the idea that we never return to campus as students, and it seems as if what's happened since has been a cruel and monkey's paw twisting to the simple wish to extend spring break. It is still hard for me to comprehend the scope of COVID-19's influence on our lives, and I still find myself deeply missing all the MBA events that would have occurred at the end of the year. But here we are today. And despite everything that has occurred, I would wager that we are all very grateful to celebrate together tonight. And when I first began MBA in 7th grade, I knew nobody. Having just moved over to Nashville from Kentucky over the summer, I was anxious about this new place and unsure what this new setting would entail. And I'll admit I was skeptical of MBA and this claim of it to be some sort of brotherhood. Though over time, I've grown to realize that my junior school misgivings were born largely from an uncertainty and a lack of experience. And I think we have become a cohesive class, and we've transformed into something more than students who happen to attend the same school. For example, earlier this year on a Friday night, some seniors showed up to the local city mock trial competition to support their classmates participating in it. Now, admittedly, a few were there primarily to support their girlfriends in the competition, but all there had a genuine interest in it, an interest born out of the desire for the success of MBA and their classmates, despite their complete lack of connection to mock trial. It's not just sports or mock trial, though. At any event, you'd find MBA seniors present because they understand that each of us has brought something unique to this community, something that warrants recognition from others. And to me, what's beautiful about our class is the way we've been able to brighten the overall community. We've been able to rally together to accomplish meaningful goals, like the Buzz for Brad campaign and the shaving of Mr. Sawyer's head. We united to take back the ability to play music at football games. And after lots of criticism from the press and the senior class, we ensured that the speed bump in the Vine Street parking lot would be reduced. Its power and intensity were too great for us, a move that benefits all future MBA classes. Now, I remember recently watching the virtual senior sports breakfast, the video for it. And although I'm obviously very far from playing a sport at the same level as Brennan, Hedges, or Jack, I was struck by their common message, which is the importance of sports both in cultivating physical and mental strength, but also in forming a community united by strong and slowly forged bonds. And although it's disappointing that the lacrosse team doesn't have the opportunity to earn back-to-back state championships, the baseball team can't see the fruit of all their grueling practices, and the soccer team can't have vengeance in the state championship, all those talks by the senior athletes affirmed to me the many forms of education we have received at MBA. We've been educated academically, athletically, and personally, and all these educations have driven us closer together as a class. We are united not by the fact that we individually struggle and toil through schoolwork, but rather by the fact that we struggle and toil together. I can't remember how many times I've seen some seniors and anywhere during break rushing together to finish some Albert questions for chemistry. The presence of others, all equally helpless against the onslaught of chemistry problems, made the otherwise miserable work a fun memory. And it's the same athletically. The tough practices that tear us down physically force us to come closer together and find strength in knowing that we are pushing ourselves alongside our classmates. I think it goes beyond just our classmates, though. It's always reassuring to know that despite the difficulties and challenges of MBA, there's always a teacher or a coach not just guiding us, but genuinely caring for us. And it's this unity in the face of the challenges of day-to-day life here at MBA that form the friendships. I think MBA's difficulties drive us together, sometimes in a shared frustration with burdensome work or strict rules, but often in the mutual understanding that the best, most enjoyable course forward is with other people. And to me, that's why COVID-19 has been so challenging. We've been forced to undergo something difficult, like, say, having a 9 a.m. Google Meets class with cameras on. But this difficulty derives largely from our inability to be with each other. It's functioned essentially as a controlled experiment to determine whether the bonds we have created here can survive even when we are not together. And I think that this experiment has been a testament to the strength of our relationships. Because at the end of the day, our community is defined not by the buildings or the ceremonies here, or even being together physically, but rather by the people who inhabit it. And the more removed I've been from MBA, the more appreciative I've become of all the simple pleasures of day-to-day life here. Whether it's as normal as enjoying a study hall with friends, or as bizarre as betting on Serbian women's basketball games. Now, this has been a spectacular journey, and we are fortunate to have gone through it with each other. Congratulations, and thank you.
We congratulate you, Zach, on earning the distinction of valedictorian for the class of 2020. In 7th grade, Zach and his family moved from Kentucky so that he and his brother could attend MBA. Our school and community benefited immensely from this sacrifice and commitment. In addition to working tirelessly in and out of the classroom, Zach's sense of academic curiosity and intellectual discovery exceeded the expectations of his teachers. He wanted to learn and to develop as a student and person for all the right reasons. He also served as a key member of the mock trial team and an important member of the cross-country team. Zach loves the classics and earned a Wilson grant to study in Rome, and he represented MBA on exchange at Christ College in New Zealand. Zach will be attending Yale University in the fall. Congratulations, Zach. We know your program says 2 songs, but unfortunately we're just going to have one tonight. And we don't have the full chorus, but we have a strong group. So would those members of the MBA chorus please come forward?
In the quiet, misty morning, when the moon has gone to bed, when the sparrows stop their singing, and the sky is clear and red, when the summer ceased its gleaming, when the corn is has gone to bed, when the sparrows stop their singing, I'll be homeward bound
Thank you, gentlemen, especially knowing how hard it was to get us together and on short notice. I have loved getting to know Mike Reid. His life illustrates the best ideals I have seen and hoped for in the MBA community. He embodies that saying, "Nothing is so strong as real strength or as gentle as real strength." Mike grew up in Juniata, Pennsylvania, where he played football as a fullback in high school. He was recruited to Penn State University and received his degree in music in 1970. Mike was a unanimous college football All-American selection and won the Outland and Maxwell trophies as the country's outstanding lineman at Penn State. He also finished in 5th place in the Heisman Trophy voting. He continued his football career as a first-round draft pick of the Cincinnati Bengals, earning Defensive Rookie of the Year, and then was voted NFL All-Pro in 1972 and 1973. After only 5 seasons in the NFL, Mike Reid decided he would rather play music than football for a living. Mike once said, "I had no gifts or natural abilities in music. My gifts were in sports, but the music was something that got in there. I just enjoyed trying things." Fortunately, my college coach, Joe Paterno, loved that he had a guy on the team that majored in music. Mike Reid also commented, "It's not all that long ago that I realized sport was something I wanted to do, but I remember wanting to be a writer. There was no discernible talent in me, but I do think following your heart sometimes requires overcoming common sense." And writing has been Mike's life since the early 1980s. In 1983, he scored his first #1 country hit song, "Inside" by Ronnie Milsap, and subsequently has composed more than 30 top 10 and pop hits. 21 of those records have gone all the way to #1 on the charts, including Bonnie Raitt's "I Can't Make You Love Me," which was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. It is a pleasure to introduce as our commencement speaker someone I admire and believe in, someone whose goodness emanates from his humility and decency, and whose person speaks volumes about building a better life and community as a friend, a gifted writer and musician, and father, husband, and human being. I am grateful you are here tonight to speak to the class of 2020. Please welcome my friend Mike Reid.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Dr. Joya. There is no way I can live up to that, for Pete's sake. I really appreciate it. Invited guests, parents, various friends, relatives have come here this evening for you guys because they're proud and delighted and in some cases surprised that you managed to pull this off. This is really going to happen. Is this amazing or what? You get a graduation. You know, against all the odds in these amazingly extraordinary times. If you ask, I would venture to say, if you might have an older brother that went to school here, or just an older brother or a sister or anyone, ask them what they remember about their graduation. And mostly they're going to say, nah, not much. Some guy got up, gas bag got up and talked, but I don't remember what he said. And I kind of remember Mom and Dad crying. It was the first time I saw my dad cry, kind of weird. But you guys, this is the deal. This is unique. You know, when they ask you, tell us about your graduation, Years later, he said, well, it was pretty standard stuff. The world was having a nervous breakdown, and there was a virus loose on the world trying to kill everyone. But other than that, it was pretty standard. So, at any rate, to all of you wonderful young men, on behalf of myself and everyone here, we say congratulations to the mighty MBA graduating class of 2020. Take a moment to feel good about what you've done, but just a moment. There's more work to be done. And now, as if in a final act of Dr. Joya torture, the old commencement address. The commencement address is much like this virus. It persists, and so far as we know, there is no vaccine against it. And yours is going to be given by a cranky old songwriter, for Pete's sake. You know, the young boy says to his father, Daddy, I want to be a songwriter when I grow up. And the father says, son, you can't have it both ways. Yeah, that takes a little while to, right? At any rate, Aeschylus, I think it was, said, wisdom alone comes through suffering. If that's in fact true, then we all ought to be a little smarter about 15 minutes from now. So what am I going to tell you guys? What in the world is somebody my age going to tell you men? Well, in the way of the old requisite address, you know, reach for the stars, whatever you dream you can achieve, that kind of thing. I'm not going to say that. I, in my life, have never reached for a star. And whatever you can dream, you can achieve. I've dreamed a lot of my adult life that Gwyneth Paltrow was crazy about me and wanted to go to Hawaii on her dime, so I don't even think we need to unpack that. But I want to be clear now, seriously. I'm not cynical about any of this, and I certainly don't intend to dismiss those of you that know exactly, have a perfectly ordered dream that you're going to follow in the coming years. Some of you know exactly, actually, perfectly determined plan you intend, come hell or high water, to follow. You, I call you the fortunate ones, and to you I say, good for you, and best of luck. But many of you, I guess, are like I was at your stage of life, confused, and now in this current world we live in, somewhat unsure, and maybe you have a little feeling like pushing off the dock into the fog, you know? To you, I say you have my heart. I get it. Truthfully, I've lived in fear of this evening, standing in front of you, young men, attempting to pass myself off as someone who knew things about your life, a guy who seems to know things about this world that you don't. And it occurred to me that what was at the heart of my fear was lying to you, okay? Standing here saying things to you that sounded wonderful, inspirational even, and wondering if I really and truly believed a word of it. I've asked friends this single question. If given the opportunity, what would you tell these young men? What would you tell them about the world they are about to experience? What would you tell them about the world they are experiencing? The world they are about to graduate into? Well, I got a range of responses, some hopeless, some not very positive, some encouraging, some crazy, pretty much all over the map. It was a good exercise for me because in the end it forced me to answer the very same question, and in doing that I began to remember a few things that I had allowed myself in my old age to forget. One is that the pure genius of life is that it will accommodate any conceivable point of view. If you think the world is a nasty, unfriendly place, well, you don't have far to go these days to find evidence of that. And if you think the world is an extraordinarily beautiful place, damaged, difficult, but beautiful, there's evidence of that everywhere. If you think people care or don't care, turn on the TV, you'll see evidence of your position. If you think they do, good for you. Just look around you. This space is filled with people who deeply, deeply care about what your lives are going to be. Some years ago, I could have stood here, man. I could have stood here and I could I would have been able to give you a pretty good idea about what to expect in the coming years. Well, you know, I'm sorry, not anymore. And you guys know that. You're not going to buy that from me anyway. Things are changing. Growing, change, growth is painful, and it is my considered belief that nobody, and I mean nobody, has a blueprint for how things are going to go, and that certainly includes me. So what can I say to you beautiful young men without throwing a load of nonsense into your face? What eternal verities, truths, still, and will always, through the arc of your life, exist? Okay, here's one. A lot of what you will experience in the coming years is going to be hard. It is going to be difficult. It will involve challenges, the likes of which you have not yet faced, and through these you will experience moments of success. And you will also experience many disappointments, rejection even. Things not going quite as you had hoped. And you know what? That's okay. You're not an anomaly. You will not be alone in experiencing that. In my view, it is literally the natural order of things. You will come to God, whatever your idea of that word is, on a hard bench, not a barcalounger sipping a beer. You will come to the deepest experience of yourself, your identity, through difficulty. The human mind, yours, the human mind, body, heart, hands, are built for struggle, are made stronger, forged in the fires of struggle and difficulty. And that with that struggle and difficulty removed, man is, to quote the late, great American playwright Tennessee Williams, that man is a sword cutting daisies. That perhaps not privation, but luxury is the wolf at the door. So understand this is a good thing. Positive, I promise, and I know what I'm talking about, okay? When I tell you that at 18, 19, 20, 21, and beyond, your heart is a resilient, tough little thing. I promise you, men, you are capable of handling and enduring far more than you can possibly know at this point in your lives. If I am to declare to you what exactly has given my life the greater measure of its meaning, I would actually relegate achievements to a position pretty far down on the list, certainly behind rejection and even failure of a sort. Now, I'm not going to stand here and I'm not going to encourage any of you to set sail into the world seeking failure. No. Disappointment stings. It hurts. Nobody wants that. But I would heartily remind you, I want you to think about this. Failure is not a condition, but is a moment in time, ripe with much to teach. Knowledge rests not only upon truth, but upon error as well. I would never suggest you get comfortable with it, but neither do I believe you should ever fear failure. If I stand here in front of you this evening with one regret about my life, speaking as honestly as I can to you, it is that I have lived too much of my life in fear of failure. But come on, that's only human, right? That's what you're saying. I mean, who wants to hurt? Who wants to feel the sting of disappointment? Who in the world wants to get in the heart's broken here line and say, yeah, I'll have one of those and two of those, and let me try that on, see how that fits? Because when you're experiencing this pain of disappointment, of your plans not working, that rejection, it's impossible to believe that there would be any value in it, any value in heartbreak. Even at first blush, the phrase, the value of heartbreak, seems a bit off, a bit odd. I must tell you, though, I was taught about the value of struggle, the value of heartbreak, by a wonderful young man years ago, a young man who went to this very school, my son, Matthew. Emerson said the child is the father to the man. I always loved that, but I never understood it till I found myself the father of a boy on a high school wrestling team. He had worked so hard as a wrestler, a committed young man to a sport and to a coach, Frank Simpson, who is here. I saw him earlier. Coach Simpson was Matt's first real mentor, a man Matt loved and admired. What Matt perhaps lacked in pure ability as a wrestler, he made up for tenfold in massive heart. A warrior, a huge-hearted kid, this one. He worked hard, faithfully, even though he was seldom on the starting team, and he longed to contribute. He did this all through high school, and finally, deep into his senior year, he got the chance. It was a tournament in Clarksville that he was given the nod. He would be the starting wrestler in his weight class, finally. And in a big match, late in the tournament, he was pitted against a boy who would eventually go on to become the state champ in that weight class, and Matt was soundly defeated. He walked off the mat after the referee raised the other boy's hand in victory, and he sat behind the team bench with his back to the gym, his head lowered. He was literally the visual incarnation of a heartbreak itself. As a father, it was the most difficult moment of my life, seeing someone you love so much hurting like that. Now, you see, guys, my way of dealing that was to say, okay, I would walk across the gym, find that other boy's father, tap him on the shoulder and say, "Sir, your son just beat up my son. So you and I have to go to the parking lot now. I have to beat you up." Real mature way of handling things, right? At any rate, there Matt and I were after the tournament, heading home in the car. Fortunately, at that moment, a voice, whatever, I don't know what it was, said, "Mike, keep your mouth shut and your ears open." We drove a few miles in silence, and finally, "Dad, you want to talk about this?" I said, "Your call, buddy. You're my guy." And then he said, almost word for word, "Dad, I love sports. I really love sports. But I am not a competitive athlete. I have great friends, friends who love me and that I love." And then he paused a moment and said, "And Dad, I like who I am." And there it was, men, from the mouth of that boy, "I like who I am," a phrase that in the entire course of my life, I had never been able to say. And for days after I processed all this, and though I'm a little thick-headed, it finally occurred to me how we so often misinterpret heartache, difficulty in this culture, that what had happened was his heart hadn't just been broken, rather it had been broken open to reveal things about himself that he might not have realized in any other way, any other circumstance, that he was good with who he was. An extraordinary insight for a boy his age, and that was some years ago. And today, at the risk of sounding like a typical father, Matt is absolutely one of the best human beings I know. Kind of guy MBA should be very proud of. He's compassionate, kind, thoughtful, generous, a great listener. What will he achieve in this life? Who knows? I don't know any more than I know about what you will in your lives. But I will tell you this from the very bottom of my heart tonight. I would trade everything. I would trade all I have achieved in this world to be the man my son is. Some of you will leave here and achieve extraordinary things. Many of you will not. Some of you will know great wealth. Most of you will not. But keep in mind that when you reach for the stars, not every star in the firmament is made of money. There are other things that shine as bright, or brighter even, such as honor, dignity, decency, honesty, compassion. My God, just listen to the sound of those words and think of how infrequently we hear them these days. It is my considered opinion, men, that what this broken world is most desperately in need of is decent, honorable, committed people. I think it is a lot harder, far more difficult being your age now than it was when I was your age. You're bombarded with millions of bits of information every single day of your lives, and much of it is a lie. So much of it is somebody else's attempt to sell you on a lie. The entire advertising business, and now more than ever politics, television, relies on all of us believing that lie. And what is that lie? It is that somebody else can tell you how to be happy. Somebody else can tell you what your life should be, how to fulfill it. This car, these shoes, this house, whatever. Men, if you hear nothing I say, if you remember nothing of our time together this evening, hear this. Nobody, and I mean nobody, can tell you how to be happy. I can't tell you how to be miserable either, but I can tell you how to increase the odds. Okay? Make the acquisition of money the single priority in your life. Measure the quality of your very existence by what you have, by what you own, by what you possess, and I can almost guarantee a fairly high misery quotient. One of the very best things I have ever read in my life is a piece called The Catastrophe of Success, again by the great Tennessee Williams. The Catastrophe of Success. I encourage you to Google it. Everybody should read this piece, regardless of age or generation. In the final paragraph, Williams counsels the reader thusly: in the time of your life, live. That time is short, and it doesn't return again. It is slipping away while I write this, and while you read it, and the monosyllable of the clock is loss, 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 unless you devote your heart to its opposition. Good stuff. How then do you devote your heart in opposition to the relentless passing of time? Well, that is what me, Dr. Joya, all these wonderful people here for you this evening, that is what we want you to tell us. These next 4 years and beyond are yours. This is your time. This is about to be your world now, with all its mess, in all its brokenness, in all its beauty. So live. Live. Engage with not his, not hers, not mom's, not dad's, not theirs, not somebody else's, but your extraordinary, challenging, painful, joyful, disappointing, exhilarating, triumphant life. It is the privilege of a lifetime to become who you truly are. In the end, men, the successful, meaningful life is really not all that hard. Across the arc of time, through changing technological, social, economic, and moral landscapes, the recipe remains constant. Work hard. Tell the truth. Keep a faith. Men, it's bigger than you, but in the words of the transcendent Walt Whitman, the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. And lastly, be kind. Look after one another, especially this last one. Look after one another. If you just do that, you will already be more successful than most generations that have preceded you. Thank you. Yeah, this is Dr. Joya's idea, guys. Brad asked me to, did I have anything appropriate here as you venture out into your new lives? And this is autobiographical, but I think it may be applicable. Man,
what a show. I've never seen such a big machine, and nearly every night, well, I dreamed about that asphalt ribbon rolling out of sight. One day my dad said, son, you take this wheel. Feel the power of the highway neath an automobile. Pulled out onto the asphalt and I fumbled into third. Put his hand upon my shoulder and very softly said these words. Son, this road is your freedom. It's the highway to your dreams. Just remember where it came from, no matter where it ever leads. And anytime you're ever out there and you're feeling all alone, this road that you leave on can always bring you home. Well, looking back, the years and miles have both been kind. Oh, I love this life I live, but now and then I find there's a hunger in my soul for a place I need to be. And I can hear my dad, I still hear him saying those words to me. Son, this road is your freedom. It's the highway to your dreams. Just remember where it came from, no matter where it ever leads. And anytime you're ever out there and you're feeling all alone, this road that you leave on can always bring you home. Congratulations, man.
My mask.
Up, right there. What a great friend you are, and how grateful I am that your family has been part of the MBA community. I suspect that probably no one could have envisioned the MBA of 2020 when Montgomery Bell's will was probated in 1855. Even John Berrien Lindsay, once president of Princeton University, or known as the College of New Jersey at the time, who came to Nashville to be headmaster of our predecessor school, could not fathom how Montgomery Bell's vision of establishing a school for boys became the reality we know today. 790 students, approximately 150 staff and faculty, 12 buildings and nearly 50 acres here at Harding Road, and approximately 10 more acres on 42nd Avenue, and another 200 acres of fields, trails, a lake, an observatory in McMinnville, all define the MBA of 2020 statistically. But we are, of course, more than facts and numbers. Our school speaks of history and traditions and great friendships, literally an institution where grown men reminisce about teachers and coaches and classmates who changed their lives and became their best friends forever. A place where the sense of community is real, tangible, and authentic. MBA means so much to so many individuals, and this campus and community, I hope, will always be a place where you can return safely and happily and with great pride. I also trust that the lessons and teachings here will remain with you always so that you can thrive and confront life's challenges and difficulties. I believe you will find few places in your lives where you can discover that same balance and excellence of MBA. My view of that vision rests clearly and fully in the class of 2020 and in your achievements as well as in the faculty and staff at MBA. Whatever perspective you see in MBA, I hope that your vision of Montgomery Bell Academy rises above the vagaries of time and change. MBA is proudly a school for great young men, focused on a motto of gentleman, scholar, athlete. Our commitments are clear, concise, and prioritized. Now, would the class of 2020 please stand? Guests, friends, colleagues, and parents, we have reserved as the single most important honor the MBA diploma. Each student will be recognized equally tonight to show that he has earned a distinct honor at MBA. Gentlemen, you have done well. We are proud of the class of 2020. You have had many tests and papers at MBA, but the real examinations will follow you long after MBA in the ways you treat others and yourself, in what kind of men, friends, spouses, and citizens you become, in how honorably you live your lives. I present you now to Mr. Ingram and the Board of Trustees and the faculty as successfully completing the requirements for graduation at MBA, recommending you receive your diplomas. Will the first row please come forward? The rest of you please be seated. Right there on that edge. Grayson Hyde Adams. Richmond Ensa Akatue. Owen Thomas Albright. Dominic Liberator Alaco. John Alston Aaron. Stephen Thomas Avery. Nicholas Shaw Bailey. Robert Lee Barnes. Aiden Leva Barton. Davis Cameron Blankenship. Timothy Joseph Bloffus. Luke Coleman Boyer. Benjamin Connor Boza. Bryson Lee Brown. Zach Ellis Brown. Walker Carden Bird. Walker McDougal Kane. Glenn Carlton Capps III. Noah Colton Carr. Landon Gray Cashwell. John Gray Clark. Roy Edward Clavery III. Lucas Anthony Schmelik. Jackson Anthony Collins. Prentice McGavick Cooper. Isaac Goodwin Cravens. William Harris Crawford IV. Richard Fenner Cummins III. James Patrick Dennis. John Tate Dillon. William Joseph Farner. Peter Sutton Fennell. Edwin Robertson Freeland. Benjamin Tibbs Gallanter. Christian Campbell Price Scarber. Daniel Alejandro Garcia Quinones. John Ralston Graham. Brian Caldwell Graves. Spencer Wallace Grohofsky. William Landis Hall. Jeffrey Peter Hall II. Jacob Jonah Hanai. Matthew Alvin Hawkins. John Hedges Hayworth. William Parsons Higgins. Grayson Craddock Hill. William Wesley Hirschman. William Harrison Hitt. Michael Bond Hoffman. Andrew Harrison Holman. Graham Martin Holzapfel. Finn Dorsey Houghton. John Blanson Hyde. Jonathan Allen Jameson. Ryan Christopher Johnston. Alexander Michael Callums. Matthew Alexander Kaplan. Michael Christopher Kelly. William Thomas King III. Samuel William Walker Kirkpatrick. Tanuj Sanjay Kohli. Connor William Kolstad. Fletcher Sims Lance. Jack Weston Larish. Derek Creighton Lobb. Marcus Duke Tai Lay. Jaron Steele Leisure. Benjamin Burks Lindsay. Joseph Erkebulon Lucas. William Nicholas Lummis. George Bucknaw Mabry III. William York Mater. Stephen Jude Mason III. William Thomas McAvoy. Daniel Williams McGuire. Jackson Foster McKinnon. Luke Alexander McSween. Noah Daniel Mendoza. Roswell Thomas Miller. Brennan Berryman Minkoff. Peter McBride Minkoff. John Bertie Moore. Stuart Paul Moore. Michael Scott Morrow. James Clayton Overholt. Edward Haynes Owen. William Cage Parrish. Benjamin Allen Patterson. William Brown Payne. Kieran J. Peterson. Edward Alexander Phillips. Grant Cooper Harden Pinson. Patrick Mills Powell. Joseph Thomas Quadlig.
Spot on, sir.
Alexander Iverson Ray.
Thank you.
Walter Ritter III. Brennan Meyer Roach. David Wyatt Roach. William Starling Roberts. Andrew Scott Robertson. Noah William Rostdeutscher. Benjamin Peyton Rowlett. Roderick Preston Russ. Eric William Saul. Benjamin McCreary Sensing Jr. John Sanders Sewell. Jackson Montgomery Sylvester. Camden Reed Slinger. John Pryor Smart Jr. Armand Sodi. Ronald Marcus Stanley III. August Turner Stevens. James Cavert Stum. Ethan Forrest Sutpin. Cade Michael Thornton. John Guilford Thornton. Charles Clay Tribune V. Jordan Everett Turks.
Congratulations.
William English Tyrone. Matthew John Ohm. Nicholas Blaine Vyers. Logan Tyler Vick. John Lawson Wallace. Max Marzette Watts. Eugene Woods Weathersby III. Charles Cole Williamson. Thomas Victor Zuthin III. Congratulations, you are now officially alumni. So we'll be dismissed in just a few minutes, and it's incumbent upon me to remind you of the protocols we're under, and I'll do it as gently and straightforwardly as possible. We're not supposed to gather. It almost seems abnormal not to at least take a picture or be around one another briefly, but please don't linger. We worked really hard to get this done this way, and we want you to help us by following those rules. And most of all, as I said at the beginning, just enjoy this night and be glad as I am that we are together. I leave you with these final thoughts. I hope your experience at MBA widens and deepens over the years. I hope you will find the time to take good care of yourselves personally, emotionally, intellectually, and physically. I hope you will remember that you are not better than anyone else because you attended MBA. But I do hope that you are in many ways a better person and student and citizen because you are here. I hope that you will find a way to live your life with graciousness. I hope you will be more forgiving than critical, more giving than taking, more complete than limiting in your interest, involvement, and relationships. On a personal note, I thank you for your many kindnesses, contributions, and commitments to each other in the school. Life is filled with challenges, but your own hard work and resolve, sense of family and friendship, and convictions and inner scorecards will guide you favorably. You too will have your own trials. Life is a mixture of good and bad, dark and light. May you see the goodness even when the times are dark. And may you remember that even in the darkness, the stars are brighter and the journey is clearer because of friends, family, even institutions, and your own resources, inner resources. You are embarking on a much more complex journey where the workplace and community are very different. Remember to respect everyone and treat all men and women with equal respect. Use the knowledge and experience you learned at MBA to navigate a world filled with information, but lacking clarity. May you build a life, not merely make a living. May you find that grace under all of life's pressures, remembering that a good heart, hard work, gentle understanding, a sense of humor, and compassion will serve you well. Live as though you will die tomorrow. Learn and study as if you will live forever. And I conclude with a prayer from the poet E.E. Cummings. We thank you, God, for this amazing day, for the leaping green-leafed spirit of trees and a blue true dream of a sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. Amen. Please stand to sing the MBA Alma Mater.
sing, as in the days of yore. Hail to thee, where loyal hearts and friendships dwell, on and on faithfully. Hail Montgomery Bell.
Matthew Kaplan will come up and finish the ceremony with the benediction.
Let us pray. Lord, we come together today to celebrate the successes of the past 6 years at Montgomery Bell Academy. As we enter the future, let us go forth with the greatest of MBA's traditions, pursuing its ideals, to strive, to seek, and never to yield. May we be blessed with the good sense, dignity, and compassion of gentlemen, the knowledge and wisdom of scholars, and the fortitude and perseverance of athletes. Let us never forget our time on the Hill that has prepared us for tomorrow's horizons. Our experience here have taught us to revel in our friendships, set high expectations, but find joy in our lives as we pursue them with vigor. Remind us often that these and future successes are granted by you, our Creator, and fostered by our teachers, friends, and families for whom we give thanks and praise. Amen.